Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here representing Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and today we're going to talk about the fact that people are not getting results because they're following a bunch of fake natties online, which have dominated most of social media fitness. But a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you're not subscribed or following, please do so, and if you'll be kind enough to drop me a comment down below, I'd appreciate that so much. You know, I started talking about this a lot 12, 13 years ago, early on the tubes when I was a fairly new content creator. But there were other people talking about it too, and a lot of us come from an older generation where, yeah, there was a lot of gear, but everyone was expected to build a base drug-free. And because of that, you know, standards are different. And today what has happened, we've reached a world definitely in the last, 15 years or so, to where tons of influencers and other people really don't learn the basics. They don't know anything about training. They really and truly do not. And they just hop on a bunch of gear. They start putting out information. And when I say a different generation, what I mean is, and again, let me be clear on this when we're having this conversation. I am not the only name out here in the influencers from my generation to say this. Like several other people have. Even Lowliner got up and said, yeah, Blaha's right. Our generation, and he was all the way up in Ohio, and I was here in Texas. Okay, we're same age bracket. When we were coming up, our early 20s and stuff in gyms, yeah, I mean, gear was just as prevalent as it is today. People were enhanced. But there was a different community in the sense of if you couldn't lift decent numbers and you did a cycle, like you were made fun of. Lowliner says where he lived, they beat you up. Like the dudes would go take you out back and, slap you around. Where I lived, people just got made fun of. Like it's like you were called lazy, you were called a clown, you were just lazy and didn't put in your dues before you earned the right for it. And people freak out when we say what these numbers are. Like, no one, that's so impossible. But we all did it. Okay, let's be clear. Like straight up, if you couldn't bench 3 plates and squat 4 plates, and you went on stuff, you were made fun of. And I'm not talking about power lifters. I'm talking bodybuilders, gym rats, right? This is the norm. Like this was the expectation, okay? This was the expectation. And everyone built on the basics. Everyone got pretty big and jacked, reasonably so, before they did stuff. And now you see all these creators who, tons of them, are clearly on gear and they're still weak. Okay? And this is a problem because they're putting out information and they're literally telling their audience, oh, no, we can just do this and we can do machines and do sets of 8. A lot of them are now saying 5 to 8, even a lot of the fake natties, which at least they're pushing some weight, but still, it's not like high reps don't build muscle, so they're being ridiculous. Right? You get real big on sets of 12. Sorry, reality, you can. All right, now, that being said, we're seeing so much of this nonsense to where it is all fluff and pump still. All machines, fluff and pump. Nothing's even being trained that hard. Like you watch a lot of these guys, it's like you're not even going hard on those machines. You don't have true progressive overload. Sets are nowhere near failure, nothing to failure. Okay, and it's fascinating. They've got guys in the gym 5-6 days a week just goofing off. And yet, when you come from the generations where I come from, you were expected to be big and strong before you used anything. Dudes weren't lifting weights 5-6 days a week. Okay, let's again. Some of the most jacked and strongest guys, like really jacked dudes I knew, were sometimes training 3 days a week. 4 was on the more extreme end. Like people would do cardio. I'm not saying people didn't come in and do cardio. Right? And everyone used less stuff back then too, by the way, when you start chatting with guys. It was not with the amounts people use today. Like even these casual influencers, you really start talking, they start talking about what they do when they admit it. It's ridiculous. So here's the problem. These people are putting out information for naturals or even put out information for people using stuff. But it's all lazy training. It's literally, well, if we just train 5 or 6 days a week, we can not squat. we can skip benches and deadlifts and weighted pull-ups and these things. And then their audience is wondering why they're not getting results. You know, they're coming in and they're doing just endless low quality sets, tons of cables, machines, isolation, huge amounts of volume of low quality volume. And they're coming in and having them do 5 and 6 day a week training and all this nonsense. Okay. This is a problem because they're not getting results. And look at these same influencers over here. Oh, I got ripped without cardio. I work all this junk in, and it's like, it's ludicrous. And their people don't get results. They're small, they're weak, because they're following a bunch of fake natties who do not understand basic training principles, who've never built a base, never built a strength base, which is why your guys are not going to gain muscle. Like if you are drug free and you are not strong, you are not going to gain large amounts of muscle. You're just not. And you need to be doing the big exercises. That's where your training economy comes from. Right? Squat, bench, deadlifts, pull-ups, rows, overhead pressing, dips. This is your money. That's where your money is, right there. I'm not saying you can't fill in all the other gaps with other stuff. I'm not saying not to do other stuff. I'm not telling you some machines aren't useful. But by and large, these are your afterthoughts after you've done all the real work. These are secondary exercises to fill in the gaps. But these people are not teaching people to get strong on the basics and push progressive overload on the basics. And it really is just endless pump volumes, which if you use enough drugs will work. Sure, plenty of these guys are jacked, but how many of them would be fairly jacked if they just did jumping jacks with the stuff they use? Okay? And then all the fat burners they use, and they do whatever nonsense to get ripped. And then you got to look at a lot of it, like you look at the garbage diet some of them eat and they're ripped. It's like, how much of that is T3 and Clen and now using GLPs and all this other stuff in the mix? How much of this is your drugs? Because your diets are bad. They're eating junk food. Oh, I eat these protein cookies. Yeah, that's junk food. Okay? If you weren't using a bunch of drugs, you would not look like you look eating that junk food. Reality. But again, it's fake natties, and they're leading their audience astray. Instead of having them get really strong on the basics, they're doing that. Because these guys didn't get strong on the basics. They didn't have anything till they went on drugs. And now they're out here putting out information, and there are hundreds and hundreds of them on every platform. And they are leading their audience astray. Their audience is getting no results. And they are not going to until they stop following these clowns.